When you tell people you're a division manager of the utility side of a cable pipe and leak detection business, what does that mean? What do you do, and what is that role?
So for the underground utility division, my role here is to be in charge of all of the technicians on that side.
What are some of the hardest things about being able to delegate a lot of those tasks and responsibilities? Because your roles and responsibilities kind of covers a lot.
Filling out the schedule is a lot, and fortunately I have a very strong customer service department. That's one part of Housecall Pro. We love the fact that there is some management there where we can see where our technicians are going, see where they're heading off to, see how long they've been somewhere, so that's really beneficial for us.
What are some techniques and things to grow the business like you guys have?
So when we're looking for our talent and we're doing talent development, we utilize our HR software. It's called a...
All right. Welcome to another edition of the Superpro podcast, where we highlight the incredible journeys of pros in the home service industry who are making impact through excellence. I'm your host, Roland and co-founder of Housecall Pro. Today, I'm super excited. We've got Marisa Fuller. She's a division manager of the utility side of the cable pipe and leak detection business, based out of El Cajon, California. 40 employees, 25 in their fleet, looking to hit $8 million this year. Marisa's company specializes in advanced plumbing services with a focus on the utility cable pipes and also the leak detection side. And we're going to be talking all about that. I'm super excited to have a conversation with Marisa, and we're going to learn some of the growing pains, some of the tips and tricks she's gathered, and some of the things inside of Housecall Pro that she likes and that she uses. Welcome to the show, Marisa.
Thank you very much for having me.
Excited to have you here. So when you tell people you're a division manager of the utility side of a cable pipe and leak detection business, what does that mean? What do you do, and what is that role?
So for the underground utility division, my role here is to be in charge of all of the technicians on that side. I make sure that their schedule is full every day. I work on the business development, bringing in new clients. I go out to a lot of site visits and site walks to meet with those contractors and let them know what our services entail. I walk those jobs and look at the scope of work, and I explain how we can service them and why they would need our services for damage prevention and for, making sure that they're protecting their own staff and they're protecting the facilities where they're working.
That's a lot of different responsibilities. Obviously, you've hired a bunch of people to help you with all the different aspects of it. What are some of the hardest things about being able to delegate a lot of those tasks and responsibilities? Because your roles and responsibilities kind of covers a lot.
Filling out the schedule is a lot. And fortunately, I have a very strong customer service department, and our customer service supervisor does a great job. Our dispatch does a really great job making sure that that calendar is full and people are going into the right places and traveling in ways that are smart. That's one part of Housecall Pro. We love the fact that there is some management there where we can see where our technicians are going, see where they're heading off to, see how long they've been somewhere. So that's really beneficial for us in making sure that we're utilizing our time wisely and not just driving, to each end of the county every day.
Yeah, and in San Diego too, if you're in East County, you don't want to be dispatching a job in North County, even in the afternoon, because that's going to be a multi-hour trip, if not more.
Very much so.
Yeah, totally. And so as you're building out your team and you're focusing on the technicians that are on the ground, where are you finding these employees? I know you come from another different background in a similar industry, but what are some techniques and things to grow the business like you guys have?
So when we're looking for our talent and we're doing talent development, we utilize our HR software. It's called a Coro, and that posts our jobs to multiple different job boards, which really helps us expand our reach instead of only advertising, for instance, on Indeed. I go through all the applications, I look at them, and I'm looking for people that have a background in construction. Even though we'll hire entry-level guys and we'll teach them from the ground up, which is super important, having that construction background is equally as beneficial, if not almost required, because construction's not like anything else. It's a certain type of people, it's a certain breed, it's a certain environment, and it's not for everybody. But typically anybody who has electrical background or plumbing background can be a very talented locator.
And so when you're screening for that, would you say that, you said it's almost a requirement, but if someone comes in with the right attitude, are you able to train them up? And do you have a full training program in place to kind of teach them through the basics? Or do you really prefer someone that has some degree of skill and you're really just building on top of that?
Well, we have hired many people that had absolutely no experience doing what we do. Maybe they had heard about us, but they hadn't done the program and done the task. But they've been able to been trained up, and we actually had some graduating new techs this year that are out in the field actively, bringing in income and servicing clients. So we absolutely train from the ground up.
That's interesting. And I think, a lot of pros are listening to this. They might be thinking, oh man, I have to do all the training from scratch. Or, how do I even do that? How do you put together kind of a training program? What does that look like to get people up to speed?
So in addition to reading some of the manuals on the equipment that we use and watching a lot of YouTube videos, which are always very beneficial to give like a base understanding, it's a lot of OJT. We put them with senior technicians and they go from job to job with that senior tech and they see it out in the real world. They see it done in real time, real life. And as they progress, we encourage the training technician to let the trainee take lead and just be shadowed. That way they can go through those motions, they can go through those steps and really feel like they have a grasp on what's going on hands-on wise. Not just sitting in a classroom and just trying to learn the theory. It's very hands-on for us.
Yeah, and I think just doing ride-alongs in general, I feel like should be a requirement of any training program, because not only are you shadowing as the trainee at first and just being a helper, but then given the opportunity to do it yourself. But, there's going to be someone that knows how to actually really do it in case you run into any issues behind you. That's a really great way to kind of show someone how it's done and then have you show them how it's done and then kind of give that critique. On the business development side of things, you're also responsible to generate new revenue. What are things that you're thinking about when it comes to, all right, Marisa, we're trying to hit that $8 million goal. Like, what's your plan for the utility side of the division? Well, how do you go into that thinking and what do you do?
Well, fortunately for me, this company has done a really great job building its brand recognition. They started the company 47 years ago. So that's a very great place to be for me coming in as a relatively new employee. I started in November, but going out and making sure that people understand that it's not just a name, that we're active. So joining all the organizations, joining different committees, going to these different job site and job walks, reaching out to the community, whether it be to chambers of commerce or to the school district and their procurement offices. Being present in the environment and in the community is really what's going to build business for us.
Yeah, and you guys are quite involved in the community. You do things both on a local level and also a more of a national level. How do you tell an earlier company to get involved, and what are some things that you guys are doing specifically?
What I would tell a baby company is find out what your local small business outreach looks like. San Diego has a great program. It's called Apex, and their goal is to help small businesses succeed and to predominantly get government contracts and learn how to be in that world, which is a very difficult thing to try to learn by yourself without guidance. So my advice would be join organizations, get in touch with people who do what you do. Organizations like the AGC are really great for that. Big companies like Kiewit, for instance, they have construction training classes that you can take, but go get the knowledge. In addition to that, I would say leverage LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a valuable resource when you're building your business to see what other people are doing out in the community that do what you do. So you can go, well, that's great, I want to do that. Or, wow, that doesn't look great, I don't want to do that. But that's where I learned a lot about our industry through LinkedIn.
I don't hear that very often. So that's a great golden nugget, that Marisa just shared here, which is look on LinkedIn. You can, people that are out there doing community work, that are trying to help the public, doing things like that. They're often posting about it. They're showing their company doing this kind of work, doing this volunteer kind of components of it. And that might give you kind of a better idea, oh yeah, that looks fun, or that looks like something I want to get the team involved with, rather than having to go cold, outreach and kind of just, try a whole bunch of other things. You kind of get to see what you're getting involved with before even having to do the work itself.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about, as you joined the company, what are some things that you feel like outside looking in, you've been able to bring in pretty quickly that you feel weren't in existence before you joined?
For me, I would say it's leveraging technology. utilizing the programs that we have. Housecall Pro is robust, and there are different aspects of it that we hadn't been using that we're now looking into really making sure we optimize. One of those is being the fleet management. We already had a fleet management program in place, but we're transitioning to the Housecall Pro one because we like that integration. We like it all in one place. One of the other great things about Housecall Pro that I love is the reviews. That's been really super beneficial. I personally didn't have a hand in that, but I just wanted to mention that's a really great aspect, and that gets us a lot of kudos out in the environment because they see that we have so many positive reviews, and they are plentiful. There's so many. We get 20 to 30 positive reviews a week, which is outstanding for any company. So that really helps us look great in the community and in doing what we do.
Yeah, I think, if you're not asking, you're not getting. And just a nice, polite reminder and those types of things. It isn't even that, a homeowner might be like, I don't want to leave a review. It's just, they're doing a lot of different things, and if you just ask, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, I was going to do this. And then they can have a quick link and they can kind of do that. But 20 to 30 reviews a week, that is huge growth. And that's going to compound even faster over time. When you're looking at the technician use of technology, I feel like sometimes technicians are resistant. Sometimes, they're game. What has been kind of your feeling on that? And then how do you manage through that either way?
So I'm a firm believer in, your field talent is there for a reason, and they are great at what they do. Field tech's tech, administrators, admin. I want to make sure that I offer that support to my technicians. And I tell them all the time, look, I need your notes. But if you're too busy, call me, I'll type them in. I don't want you to spend your day doing some of these little tasks. Use your support staff and have a support staff for your technicians. Don't overburden them with doing things like reconciling tickets and adding their too many notes or writing reports. If your in-house staff can do that for them, you can get more turnover, you can get more truck rolls, you can do more services if you support correctly.
Yeah, and I think that comes down, and a lot of owners listen to this, is it's like, what are the dollar value of the different tasks that are being delivered? And the technicians are out there, pulling in the revenue, and the more hours you can give them back to produce more revenue, if you can support them in whatever way you can, whether it's like call by call management, helping convert notes into actual line items. There's lots of like smaller things where, the technician is still responsible for doing some parts of the things, but they don't have to click all the buttons and do all the things. That's not, necessarily the best, most efficient path. And so I feel like Absolutely. That's a really good golden nugget just to share. I feel like with technicians too, sometimes if they can just use the notes field and just, mouth dictate into it, just put it on your phone, click it, and just talk it through what you did. That sometimes can be just enough for someone on the office side to be like, oh, okay, I know what they did. Boom, 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 let me build this out. And then it's done. And by that time, they could have just gone to the next customer location, not have to worry about it. Fat fingering and dirty fingers never work well on small cell phones.
Absolutely.
So, use those voice capabilities of your phone because they work a lot better now than they used to, when we first started the company. So don't be afraid of telling your technicians to do that.
100%.
So as you're kind of looking into the future here, especially for your business, what are some things that you're looking at, either from a trends or a forecast? You've got really big revenue goals. What do you think's coming out? What's going to change? What are you thinking about?
Well, for us, what I see in the industry is there's quite a bit of commercial work coming in. Right now, at this point, for the economy, residential has kind of died down. A lot of residential construction is not taking place, but there's a lot of government money out there. So a lot of commercial work, a lot of schools, a lot of airports and road maintenance. There's tons of that out there. So for part of our growth model, it's really going after those types of projects, making sure that we're bidding on them and those contractors know that we're here to support them and to be there when they need us to come and do that mark out, whether it's in 24 hours or if it's in a week. But that's where I see a lot of the growth coming from, is these big contracts, big commercial deals, hospitals, schools, highways, things like that.
Yeah, and a part of your business is kind of the B2B aspect of it. How are you building and maintaining those relationships with the contractors? Because, you're almost a sub to a lot of the things that were there putting out these really big proposals. Like, how are you managing those types of relationships and like at what frequency? How do you do that?
A lot of that actually takes place at these organizations, whether it's the AGC, the ASA, or doing just site walks for new projects that are taking place. That's where all those contractors are. That's where I see them. There was just a Meet Your GC event recently last week I went to, and it was for Lusardi. Some of you may know who that company is. They're a big deal here in San Diego, and it was a great environment. They had 20, 30 of their own employees there to meet all of us subs that showed up. And that's super important for building those relationships, getting a face with the name and not just being the other person on the other side of the computer emailing back and forth. But it makes a big difference being present, being available.
Yeah, I think too many people get into a state where they're like, okay, I'm a sub, and GCs are just going to pick whatever they can get the most markup and margin on. And I think it's really easy to fall into that trap. And being able to put like a face in the name, being able to like, shake the hand. At the ultimate side of things, the GC is going to be in charge of delivering a phenomenal product. And if you can, alleviate any of those concerns that they might have with that, you being a sub of theirs, because you're a reflection of their work product, that can help so much more than coming in 10% cheaper. Because sometimes
Absolutely.
like that little bit of a headache, if they can just write that off and not worry about that, like those things matter less than some may think. But I think it's too easy just to go around just underbidding everywhere, and you're just not going to have a good time. Your technicians are not going to have a good time. Your business is not going to have a good time. You may get a lot of contract work, but it's not going to be the stuff that you actually enjoy versus working with quality GCs that understand the value of what you have to deliver. But it starts sometimes with that handshake and that networking that you mentioned.
And, for GCs, what's vital for them is customer service. They want somebody who's responsive. They want you to pick up the phone. They want you to answer their calls. They want you to email them back. It can't be too much communication. And if it is, I'd rather it be too much than not enough.
Yeah, and you mentioned too earlier before we even started this call that responsiveness is such a key part of your business, so much less so than like the sales aspect of it. And given you're more on the commercial focus and the B2B and like GC sub kind of style of things, but even then, that responsiveness rate actually matters so much versus like making sure you've got the ultimate sales pitch down and really trying to do that. What are ways that you optimize that kind of that high quality service? Are there core values in the business? Anything besides the technology piece that enable you to do that? Because I think it's something that a lot of pros struggle with, which is like feast and famine of now I'm working to try to get a job. Okay, now I got a job, but I'm not looking to get other jobs. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm done with this job. I need to go get some jobs. Like, how are you balancing all that and still maintaining that responsiveness?
Well, I would say our core values absolutely play a role in that because our core values are, company pride is our first one, being humble, expecting excellence and teamwork. And that really shows through everything that we do. And our guys are really great about exemplifying that when they're out in the field. And that's what keeps the contractors coming back. On the leak division side, we have a lot of partnerships with plumbers, property managers, homeowners associations, and they know that we take pride in what we do. And they know that we're going to come out and do the best for them. And that's why they keep calling us. And I think that's a really vital and important part of what we do, making sure that we show we show that confidence, we show that we're proud, we show that we're expecting excellence, and that we're working together with them as a team, not just our own employees. That's what I think really keeps driving all of that growth and filling our calendar every day.
Yeah, I really like the way you put that, and that's kind of a golden nugget. But like you're a part of their team, and so whether it's a property management or GC or whatever it is, they feel more integrated. And if you're showing that responsiveness, that's something that they're building into their brand too. As like, hey, the people I bring together for my teams, are fast, responsive, communicate, take pride in their work, and all those pieces. So I think a lot of this, when pros are trying to think, oh, can I get into the commercial game or can I get into the government side of things? Those things probably matter even more because you're not just dealing with a regular homeowner. You're dealing with someone that actually knows the trades, knows what's going on, and especially leak detection. Like those things, if you're not responsive, I mean, I cannot imagine a non-responsive leak detection company doing very well.
I don't think that they would last very long. If you're not answering that phone, within 2 to 3 rings, they're going to call somebody else.
That's right. Now that you've had a chance to kind of play around inside of Housecall Pro, you've been doing it, you've been managing a big team. What are some things that you feel maybe are underrated that not enough pros know about, but you're like, if only they knew this part about Housecall Pro?
I would say take advantage of the integrations. Any integrations that make sense for your business, whether it's QuickBooks so that you can manage your revenue better. We really love Company Cam here because pictures tell a story, and it doesn't just do that. It's CYA, right? It covers your ass, pardon my language, but it does. Taking those pictures at your job sites really make a big difference. First of all, it provides a deliverable to your customer, which is great. But when they call back 6 months later and they're like, you did or did not do this, and you have photographic proof that that's not the case, it saves you a world of headaches, 100%.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely look into those integrations, find the ones that make sense, implement them, and use them.
Yeah, and I think, when you're thinking about any tool belt, there's going to be multiple tools that you use, and you want to make sure those tools can talk well to one another. So you're not constantly having to switch, from Ryobi to Milwaukee, and then the batteries don't work together. You got to buy a whole new set of batteries. Kind of software is a different beast, but similar in a way. And having them play together just saves you just a ton of time, especially when it comes to data entry. And you don't want to be taking pictures twice. You don't want to be able to, send out bills twice. That doesn't make sense to do.
Absolutely.
So, like kind of rewind the ticker tape a little bit. What would you tell like young Marisa, like knowing what you know now, what are some things you would maybe have implemented in the business sooner when it comes to Housecall Pro versus what you know now?
Some things that I would have implemented sooner. I wish sooner we had implemented the customer intake portion of Housecall Pro. I think it's built out really well. It differs a little bit than our traditional way of doing our intake, and that's why it's not widely used here. But I think for a young company, when you're training up somebody who's going to be answering your phone and booking your appointments, I think it can be super beneficial. And I think it can lower the amount of time it's going to take to train somebody to get up to speed. With that customer intake, if you design it correctly and you have your choose it your own adventure type questions, where if it's this answer, it's going to have this set of questions after it versus this answer, which goes this direction, I think it makes a big difference. And I think it can really help take care of those customers more expeditiously and also gather the right information to give to the technicians.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. It's, whatever information you give to the technicians allows them to skip that part of the process when they arrive on the job site. So it kind of goes back to what you're saying earlier is like, make them more efficient by adminning more on that front end piece rather than relying on them to have to do all those components, tagging the jobs, tagging the lead source, like, are you the homeowner? Who's the decision maker? Who's paying the bill? Like, if you can just take all that off their plate so they can just focus on the work, you're going to be able to be a lot more operationally efficient, making sure the right people are doing the right parts of the job. I think the customer intake too, like you said, training them faster. You can drop anyone into that, even if they know nothing about the business. They might not know anything about leak detection, but if you've built out the flows correctly, really quickly, you can have them sounding very competent on the phone. Day one, just running through a couple different mock calls. I think once they're comfortable, you can throw them on the line. Day two maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a really great tool. It just takes the time and the effort to build it out properly because you as the professional, you have to think about what questions you want asked. But once you set it up, then it really flows very nicely.
Yeah, and then you don't have gaps between different people asking different questions. And you have like, oh man, I only like it when, Joey answers the phone because he asks these questions. But like when Marisa answers the phone, she's not following the script. But this way, everyone's asking those questions, so it's standardized, and you don't have kind of those favoritisms and, who gets booked when, who gets dispatched. That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Speaking of continuing education, are there any like podcasts or books or things that you read or listen to or educate yourself to kind of stay up to speed on things?
I'm going to go back to LinkedIn. That is the place where I go. LinkedIn has plenty of free trainings on there for management skills and life skills and ways to do things to help you be better at your job. And also following other greats in your industry. That's where you can really learn a lot so that you can excel and you can be the best too. They're the best for a reason. Why not model what they do?
Oh, I love it. So many good like clips here that are going to make it on social media because there's so many just nuggets. I feel like we've kind of blown through the time here. Are there any last kind of parting words of wisdom or something that you tell someone maybe earlier on, either in their career or building a company, that you think would be helpful for them?
I would say if you're building a company from the ground up and you are say you're a roofer, right? And you've been doing roofs your whole life and you're like, I'm going to open my own roofing company. Get a program. Get Housecall Pro. Get something. Put a program in place that'll save you so many headaches, and hire support staff. Even though they're not revenue earners, they do help you earn revenue. They do help with your customer service and maintaining customer relationships and making it so that you can be more efficient in the field. Support staff is vitally important. And I think it's often overshadowed and overlooked in the construction industry because you're not swinging a hammer, but
Yeah.
you're so important.
I love that last golden nugget tip because I totally agree. And, if you can spend more time on the job and not have to worry about what home services really is, which is like a people business, then you're able to drive more revenue, even if it isn't directly. And I feel like not enough people recognize that. And that's absolutely the truth. That's such a great ending tip here. Thank you, Marisa, so much for coming on the show this week. So many great tips. I'm glad you guys are in San Diego. And for everyone else listening, we've got another interesting podcast coming up next week on the Superpro podcast. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Marisa.
Thank you, Roland.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.